I'm going to start with a short prayer. I always say this is a prayer to the love that lives within us, as who we truly are. It's actually a prayer to Hanumanji, who is that part of our own soul that is always turned towards God, towards real love. Pranavam Bhavanakumar Kalabana Pavaka Gyanagan Jasu Hradanagar Vasin Ram Sarachabadha Atulita Baladhama Himmasala Badeham Dhanurjavana Krishna Jnani Nama Graganyam Sakalagunanadhan Vanaranam Hadisham Raghupati Priya Bhaktam Vatajatam Naman Pushpadi Krutavarisham Mashiki Kritarakshasam Ramayana Mahamalaratnam Ande Nilatmajam Anjananandaram Viram Janaki Shokanashanam Kapisa Ande Lanka Ankaram Langasindho Salilam Salilam Yoshokavahi Janakatmajaya Adaitana Dadahalanka Amamitam Pranjali Ranjaneyam Manojavam Marutulya Vegam Jitendriyam Budhimatam Vardishtam Patatmajam Vanadayutamukyam Shri Ramadutam Sharanam Prapadhe Shri Ramadutam Sharanam Prapadhe Shri Ramadutam Sharanam Prapadhe Shri Ramadutam Sharanam Prapadhe Anjaneya Matipatalan Kanchanadrikamaniya Vigraham Parijat Taramulavasanam Bhavayami Pavamananandanam Yatra Yatra Raghunat Kirtanam Tatra Tatra Kritamastakhanjali Ashpavari Paripurnulochanam Martinamat Rakshasantakam Bolo Bajranga Bali Hanumana Ki Jai. Rama Ram. Rama Rama Ram, Sita Rama Rama Ram. Rama Rama Ram, Sita Rama Rama Ram. Ram. Rama Rama Ram, Sita Rama Rama Ram. Hare Ram. Rama Rama Ram, Sita Rama Rama Ram. Rama Rama Ram, Sita Rama Rama Ram. Rama Rama Ram, Sita Rama Rama Ram. Rama Rama Ram. Rama Rama Ram, Sita Rama Rama Ram. Ram. Rama Rama Ram, Sita Rama Rama Ram. Rama Rama Ram, Sita Rama Rama Ram. Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Ram, Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Ram. Sitaram Jai Sitaram. Sitaram, 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 yes, Sitaram, Sitaram. Sitaram, 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 yes, Sitaram. Sitaram, 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 Jai Sitaram. Sitaram, 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 Jai Sitaram. Sitaram, 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 Jai Sitaram. Sitaram, 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 yes, Sitaram. Sitaram, 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 yes, Sitaram. Sitaram, 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 Sitaram. Sitaram, 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 Sitaram. Sitaram, 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 Sitaram. So, Sitaram, repetition of the name. Maharaji used to say, my guru, Nim Karoli Baba, from Ram Nam Karne Se Sapura Ho Jate Hai. I'm going on repeating these names of God. Everything is accomplished, everything's brought to fullness and completion. Everything. So, very powerful statement. And he didn't lie about those things. He lied about a lot of other things, like he'd leave the temple and he'd say he's coming back in a couple of hours, and 2 months later nobody knew where he was. Those things he lied about. but not the real things. He was very clear that the repetition of the name can bring everything we need in life. It can remove obstacles and bring to us the things that we need in our lives to feel complete. You know, Hanuman is a very unusual, a different type of being. They say that there's some mantra which I can't remember, luckily, but it says that Hanuman not only gives liberation by allowing the aspirant to enter into his state of being, but he also makes it possible for us to satisfy the desires that we have that will fulfill us and that we need to fulfill. So this is not a sannyasi path, this is not a renunciate path. The path of love cuts across all the different sadhanas and practices. Without devotion, nothing you do will ever work. Devotion is not just a narrow little thing, it means the ability to really give oneself to what one is doing. Whether it's daily life, things in daily life, you have to also be pay very good attention to what you're doing in order to be successful. So this is not something that you just do. You sit in a little corner of your house and mutter a few mantras for 10 minutes a day and then think everything's going to be okay. This is something that has to spill over into the whole day, into your whole life. And it's all grace. You know, Maharaj used to say to us that he had the keys to the mind. And he used to look at us and he'd say, I could turn your minds against me. And he would laugh. And we'd go, Baba, don't do that, don't do that. And he would just laugh. He'd be too pleased with himself, just laughing, you know. I can turn your minds against me. So it's many years later, I was with Siddhima, his great disciple. And I said, Ma, you know, Maharaji says he has the keys to the mind. Which means that to me, that means that I am wherever he wants me to be. And so Ma, is it all grace, or do we have to make some effort? How does it work? And she said, Krishna Das, it's all grace, but you have to act like it isn't. So, because we don't know it's all grace. Surrender has not happened in us yet. We still think we are who we think we are. Right now, you think you're listening to me, and I think I'm talking to you. That is not true. That only looks that way. But it does look that way to us. So, because we identify with our body, our mind, and our emotions, our body, our thoughts, and our emotions, we need to do practice. We need to make some effort to open our hands and catch the raindrops of grace that are always falling. And chanting is that practice. For me, that's my main practice. And it's a way of bringing yourself out into the sunlight, to be ripened by grace. So, now Divesh will do 20 questions to Krishna Das. It's a test.
No, not a question to test, but a question to generally meet you more, to know you more closely.
Puchlo.
Okay. So first thing which I would like to know would be that, so in your journey, I think meeting Neem Karoli Baba and not actually having to being able to meet with him later when you wanted to return, then not being able to meet with Kyle or Tiwari ji at their last moments. And then this life of this learning of letting go, and then further forming new loves like having Janki as a daughter. So how does how do we love and not get attached at the same time is the question.
Real love has no attachment in it at all. Real love doesn't come and go. It lasts 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Real love is our true nature. What we have with people is relational affection. We have friendship, we have help, we have support, we have kindness, we have compassion, we have a lot of nasty stuff too. But that has nothing to do with love. You don't get love from somebody, you don't fall in love, you don't fall out of it. It's what's looking through our eyes right now. So whenever there's neediness and emotionality, this is in the human realm. This is not real love. It's not bad. I mean, we are relational beings. We learn from relationships. We're in relation to everything all the time, just by being on what's left of this planet. One time I was very much in love with someone, and I was telling Mr. Tiwari, who was my great, great friend and teacher, and he was a great yogi. Totally in the world, he was the headmaster of the Birla Vidya Mandir up in Nainital, big school, famous school. But he was a major sadhana guy, and he'd been with Maharaji for many years. So I was telling him about this woman I was in love with, and he was going, okay. And then when I finished, he looks at me, he says, my boy, he says, relationships are business. You do your business, enjoy. See, he said enjoy. He didn't say don't do your business. He said do your business, enjoy. He said, but love? Love is what lasts 24 hours a day. Relationships don't have anything to do with love, except for the fact that they sand off our hearts. They polish the mirror of our hearts until we can actually see our true nature. So we're all in relationship with everything all the time. Everything in this universe is interdependent on everything else. Right now, I'm talking to you, you're listening to me, but somebody created the computers. Somebody created the internet. Somebody created electricity. None of this would be happening unless everybody had done their part. Nobody can exist alone. So relationships with other beings can be very useful to overcoming attachment, aversion, greed, anger, shame, fear, all the stuff that we carry with us all the time. It's as we relate to the world around us and other beings and people who are very close to us, that's how we see our stuff. We're forced to see our issues and our problems and our needs and our fears and all that stuff. And if you don't see it, you can't work on it. You can't let go of it if you don't see it. So at the same time that we're involved in all these relationships, we have to find a way to turn within, so to speak, and learn how to release the negative thoughts and the negative emotions and the things that hurt us and cause us to hurt other people. So when we chant, that's what we're doing. You'll be sitting, sometimes we're sitting in a room with 1,000 people and everybody's singing and chanting, right? And then you realize for the last 20 minutes you've been thinking about, maybe you left the soup on the stove and you didn't turn the light off or the fire off, and then, oh my goodness, what am I going to do tomorrow, and this and that, and then you go, oh, you realize you've been gone, right? Gone. Even though you're breathing and you're singing and making noise and there's 1,000 people around you singing, you've been somewhere else. All of a sudden you recognize that. And then at that moment, you've come back already, and then you dedicate yourself back to the chant again for about a half a second until you're gone again. And then you notice you're gone, and you come back. And then again, and again, and again. And if you don't add the chant to your life, you never notice you're gone. Right? You're just gone. And most people are gone their whole lives. They're not here for a moment. They're lost in reacting and creating stuff and feeling this and feeling that and pushing this away and holding on to that. That's how people, all of us, spend most of our time. But when we add some practice to our lives, like chanting, japa, some kind of meditation, that's what shows us, allows us to see that we're gone most of the time. If you don't drop an anchor, if you're in a boat in the middle of the ocean in a storm, you just get blown around all the time unless you drop an anchor. And then that anchor prevents the boat from being blown all around. So this practice like that is a type of way of grabbing your attention, but it's very difficult. It's not something, it's a habit that has to be cultivated over time and regularly. Don't try to do too much practice. All you do is get a big ego about how much practice you're doing, and nothing's going to happen for you. Do a few minutes a day when you really give it everything you have. You turn your phone off and you really allow yourself to be there. You can't grab this. You can't grab your thoughts and kill them. You can only slow down, notice them, notice when you're caught, and let go again and again and again. And every time you let go, there's actually a change that happens in the brain, a neurological, physical change. The neurological channel in the brain deepens every time you come back. They've proven this. They measure all these things now. They measure everything. So yeah, real love, when you touch that place within you, to the extent that you can see and feel the love that lives within you as who you really are, that's how much you can see the love everywhere. You can't, because everything we see, for the most part, is just our version of what we call reality. And everybody has their own version of it. So until your version, those clouds that we call our version, dissipate, we can't see the sun. Once we see the sun, we see it everywhere. Because the sun is everywhere, the light is everywhere. So the chanting and the names that we chant are the names of that presence within us. It's not somewhere else. It's not somebody else. It's our own true nature, ultimately. So, and not being able to go back and see those two great beings again, Mr. Tiwari and Maharaji. This, it injected steroids into my longing to find love again, because I felt I had lost it. And so that pain increased the longing in my own heart to come back home again to my own heart. And it was very powerful, life-changing experience, of course. And ultimately, the reason I started chanting was to reconnect. I felt I had lost Maharaji. Even though he said many times, once I take your hand, I never let go, even when you let go of mine. By the way, so it's not if you let go, because you're going to let go. So when you let go of mine, I still don't let go of yours. So I needed to find that again. So that's why I started chanting. That's why I still chant. To deepen the immersion in that presence that he is, that indwelling presence. That's a short answer.
Thank you, sir. We have a question from the participant, and we have Roy who would like to ask a question, and he'd like me to read it out to you. And the question is that, looking beyond ourselves, how does one relate to the current state of mind, the toxicity that appears to pervade every corner, where, despite so many souls striving to counter the toxicity, it seems to be ascendant all the more?
Read the question again, the first part of it.
Yes. Looking beyond ourselves.
Okay, stop there. You can't look beyond yourself. All the negativity you see in the world is in your own eyes. It seems like it's out there, but really it isn't. That's our judgmental mind. That's our own fears and aversions and worries and self-preservational instincts. And it looks very scary to us. But, it definitely, this period, there's a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear, and obviously a lot of pain and a lot of suffering. And it's all over the world. For us, this is a first, that the whole world has this virus, there's fears of this sickness and disease and the social upheavals. And all we can do is calm our minds. And from that place, we might be impelled to take some action in the world to try to help. I remember a story about when, back in the old days, some politicians came to Maharaji and they said they were praising themselves for their green revolution. They had this green revolution. And Maharaji says, oh yeah, what about the rain? There's a drought. Can you make it rain? Green revolution, my ass, So we think we're so great, but what's going on is going on. It's out of our hands. The toxicity is in our hearts. We have to remove that from our hearts. And that will allow us to be much more effective in anything we do to try to help the situation in the so-called outside world. But we have to overcome our own fears, or at least work with them and keep releasing them. Those are thoughts, after all, right? You're alone in your room. You're not out there. You're alone in your room, and you're suffering right there. So that's where you have to do your work. And when you do that, then you become more available to other people. You become stronger inside and more able to help others. And which way the world is going, I don't know. And the people who know, they don't say. So all we can do is try to meet each moment in the best way we can. Whatever that means to you. What it means to me is to sing as much as I can and chant and try to keep releasing any fear or anxiety or worry or tension and pain, that I might have. I just try to keep releasing it and don't allow it to control me. And in that way, I'm more available for anybody else. And we'll see. I don't know what's going to happen. But whatever happens, I would like to be in the best place that I can be inside. And do the best I can to stay present with whatever arises. What good?
Thank you, sir. No more questions from our end, and I would now like to hand over the proceedings to Divya Prabhaji.
Pranam Guruji. I'm in a stunned silence because really you've given us the real meaning of your name in terms of Krishna Das. Krishna being that divine power, that attractive power, like a magnet to the iron filings. In the same way, really you've connected us inside to that energy of Krishna that we simply, once we touch it, we can't turn away. And really that pervasive feeling has come through you. Really, I see through you because it was so filled with light, that light, truly that light that is all pervasive. And I don't really have words to do justice to what we've experienced here. And it's really truly a blessing that you've given us this precious time. And hearing repeat the name, the devotion that you have shared with us, I'm sure that there'll be people who will never forget that experience. And this is, in all the difficult times that the whole world is facing, are undoubtedly terrible, but also with it has come some great things, like with the technology, having the opportunity to be able to feel like we're sitting in your room, sitting around you on the floor, listening to you as you played the harmonium and chants. So we are all really thankful, really feeling blessed. And so on behalf of the Dais and the Global Voices program, we are eternally grateful for this gift that you've given us today of the divinity that you shared. Pranam.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Krishna Das ji.
Do we have time to sing a Chalisa, or do you want to throw me out?
Do we have a time to sing a Chalisa? We always have a time to sing a Chalisa, Krishna Das ji. That's what we aspire for.
Please.
So this melody I'm going to sing, I call it Bernie's Chalisa. Bernie Glassman was a very close friend of mine. He was a great being, a Zen master, and one of the kindest, most compassionate beings I've ever met in my life. And he gave me a prayer to write a melody for, a prayer from the Japanese tradition, the Zen tradition. So, and that prayer is about offering our hearts to all beings who feel lost and afraid. Let them come and have a meal with us. And the meal is, we're offering our hearts. That's the meal, to feed others. So I'm going to sing that in English first, and then I'll sing this afterwards. calling out to hungry hearts everywhere through endless time. You who wander, you who thirst, I offer you this boat in hand, calling out to hungry spirits everywhere through endless time, calling out to hungry hearts, all the lost and the left behind. Gather round and share this meal, your joy and your sorrow, I make it known. Shri Guru Charan Saroja Raja Jamano Kurusudhari Parano Raghubar Bimala Jasu Chodayaku Palachari Buddhihina Tano Janke Sumeram Pavan Kumar Siaram Vallabhuddhi Vidya Dehu Mohi Harahu Kalesa Vikara Syavara Ramachandra Padaje Sharanam Jaya Hanuman Gyana Gunasaya Jaya Kapisati Loka Ujaya Ramaduta Tulta Baladhan Anjani Putra Pavan Sutana Havira Bikram Bajarang Kumatnivar Sumati Kesang Kanchana Varana Viraj Subes Kanan Kundala Kunchita Kesa Hat Bajra Dvaja Viraj Kande Muj Janeru Saj Shankar Suvarna Kesari Nandan Teja Pratap Mahajagabandhan Vidyavan Puni Ati Chatur Ram Kaja Karibe Ko Atul Prabhu Charitra Sunibe Korasi Rama Lakshman Sita Manabasi Sukshma Rupa Dharisiya Hindakav Vikata Rupa Dharalanka Jarav Bhima Rupa Dhare Asura Sanghar Ramachandra Ke Kaja Samvar Dais Sanjeevan Rakana Jiyaya Shri Raghuvir Har Shiralai Raghupati Kinhi Bahut Barai Tumma Mama Priya Bharata Hi Samavai Sahasabadam Tumharo Jasagav Sakai Shri Pati Khanta Lagav Sanakadika Brahmadi Munisa Narada Sharada Sahita Ahis Makumbera Digapal Jahanta Biko Midakaya Sake Kahanta Tumma Upakara Sugrivainki Rama Milai Rajapadali Naro Mantra Bibhishanaman Lankeshvara Bhai Sabadagajan Yuga Sahasra Jojana Paraban Niyothai Madhura Palajan Prabhu Mudrika Nili Mukamahi Jala Dilangi Kayachara Janahi Durgama Kaja Jagat Ke Jete Sugama Anu अनुग्रह तुम्हारे ते राम दुआरे तुम रखवारे होत न आज्ञा बिन पैसारे सब सुख लहे तुम्हारी शरण तुम्हारा रक्षक कहु को धर्म आपन तेज समारो आपे तीनों लोक करते काम पे भूत शासन कत नहीं आवे महावीर जब नाम सुना नासे रोग हरे सब पीर जपत निरंतर हनुमत बीर संकट ते हनुमान छुड़ावे मन क्रम बचन ध्यान जो लावे सब पर राम तपस्वी राजा तीन के काज सकल तुम साज और मनोरथ जो कोई लावे सोए अमित जीवन पल पावे चारों युग पर ताप तुम्हारा है प्रसिद्ध जगत उजियार साधु संत के तुम रखवारे असुर कंदन राम दुलारे अष्ट सिद्धि नौ निधि के दाता सवर दीन जानकी माता राम रसायन तुम्हारे पास सदा रहो रघुपति के दास तुम्हारे भजन राम को पाओ जन्म जन्म के दुख बिसराओ अंत काल रघुबर पुर जाई जहाँ जन्म हर भक्त कहाई और देवता चित्त न डरे हनुमत से सर्व सुख करे संकट कटे मिटे सब पीरा जो सुमिरे हनुमत बलवीर जय 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 हनुमान गोसाई कृपा करो गुरुदेव की नाई जो शत बार पाठ कर कोई छुत ही बन्नी महासुख होय होया पर हनुमान चालीसा होया सिद्धि साकी गणेश तुलसीदास सदा हरि चेरा कीजे नाथ हृदय मंदिर पवन तनय संकट हरण मंगल मूर्ति रूप सिया राम राम लखन सीता सहित हृदय बसव सुरभूप सियावर रामचंद्र पद जय शरणम मंगल मूर्ति मारुतनंदन सकल अमंगल मूल निकंदन मंगल मूर्ति मारुतनंदन सकल अमंगल मूल निकंदन श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम 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 Sitaram, 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 Shri Ram.